What if the real reason you're bad with money isn't what you really think? I used to blame budgets and discipline until I found out one hidden factor that flipped everything. And once I made that shift, I went from negative $20,000 in student loan debt to building a $400,000 portfolio that now pay me more than my old job did. So in this video, I'm gonna show you that one powerful factor and how shifting it could instantly make money feel less overwhelming, more manageable, and way easier to take control. So first, let me show you a force that's shaping your money habits even when you're thinking you're in control. Have you ever told yourself you'll quit a bad habit like scrolling on your phone or snacking, only to catch yourself doing it hours later without even thinking about it? It's easy to think that we lack discipline, but the truth is way sneakier than that. Most people don't realize it, but the way you design your environment could either help or hurt your money habits without you even noticing. Let's start with something that sounds minor but affects everything. I mean, everything about your financial behavior. Friction. It's the invisible force that determines whether you click buy now on something that you don't need or effortlessly grow your savings without thinking about it. And once you understand how friction works, you'll see why some people always struggle with money while others seem to make progress on autopilot. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, explains this best. Make bad habits harder and good habits easier. Like, think about it. Let's say you want to stop watching so much Netflix after work. You could try to use discipline, or could just take out the batteries out of your remote and just hide it across the room. Now, watching a show isn't effortless anymore. It now has some friction that requires just extra effort that you might just pause and reconsider. The same goes for social media. Every time you log out of the app and disable notification, you add tiny speed bumps between you and the habit. It doesn't eliminate the urge entirely, but it gives you a moment of awareness. A moment to choose. And when it comes to encouraging positive behavior, you flip the script. You want to eat more fruits? Make sure you leave it in a fruit bowl on a dining table so it's easier to grab after dinner. And this simple change makes it a lot easier to choose a banana over a bag of spicy hot Cheetos. And you want to exercise more? Lay out the clothes and sneakers the night before so you don't have to think about what you will wear, which knocks down one extra barrier that might stop you from going to the gym at all. These small tweaks seem simple, but they work extremely well. Not because you're changing your motivation, but because they change your default settings. So you're on autopilot for the good habits and slightly more aware for the bad habits. Because here's the truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And the systems are built on having more or less friction. So that means we're preparing even if we feel exhausted after work to make that decision. So you can still win on your hardest days where you might want to go back to your old habits. And once you learn how to design these systems intentionally, your financial progress doesn't just improve, it compounds. Next, let me show you why a few seconds of inconvenience could be the difference between staying broke and building wealth. Think of it like when people speed down neighborhoods. You don't just hope people slow down, we install speed bumps. We raise the effort required to go fast, so most people naturally slow down. And the same principle works on financial behavior. Impulse spending is one of those common ways that people leak money, and it's designed to be easy. And is one of the most common reasons people feel broke, even if they earn a decent income. And we live in a world where spending is effortless by design. One click, one tap, one swipe. It's smooth, seamless, and just dangerously easy. And you have to fight design with design. So instead of relying on willpower alone, delete saved credit card information from your app like Amazon, Uber Eats, and any other app that you tend to overspend. And make yourself have to re-enter the info every time. And after that, log out of your shopping accounts, or better yet, just uninstall the app completely. And then you could set off a cool off period where you could add items to the wish list, but you have to wait 72 hours before buying. These sound small, but they work. Because when you add even 10 seconds of resistance to an impulse, you give your thinking brain a chance to catch up. And sometimes it's so inconvenient that you grab your wallet by the door that you start questioning whether this impulse buy is even worth the extra effort. And here's what's wild. Psychologists have found that just tapping on your card instead of inserting or swiping increases your spending. And the smoother the checkout flow, the less your brain evaluates the cost. So find ways to slow it down. Use cash instead of credit cards, and even adding friction to long-term investing can be beneficial. Like, think about your retirement accounts. You can't easily pull money out without penalties, and that's actually a good thing. That friction keeps your money growing untouched, and it protects you from making poor short-term decisions that could cost thousands in the long run. Because here's the truth, missing just a few days in the market could destroy decades of progress. And over the last 20 years, the S&P 500 returned 10.6% annually if you stayed invested. But if you just end up missing just 10 of the best days, out of more than 7,300 days during that same time period, you would have only earned 6.37%. And that's the difference between turning $10,000 into $75,000 as opposed to $34,000 by missing those 10 days where you would have lost more than half of what you could have gotten. And here's the kicker. 7 of the 10 best days happen within 2 weeks of the 10 worst days. In other words, the moment you panic and sell during a crash, you likely miss the recovery. And that's how fear becomes regret. And without some built-in friction to make it hard to react emotionally, you end up losing a lot, not just in dollars, but decades of progress. And adding friction, whether to avoid an impulse purchase or keeping your money in your retirement account, saves you from yourself. It locks in a long-term growth by making short-term emotional decisions harder to act on. And it's not about being smarter at all. It's about building systems that make bad decisions inconvenient. So we added friction to bad habits so they're harder to act on. But next, let me show you how removing friction can make saving and investing feel effortless so you stick to good habits without even trying. So imagine 2 people trying to invest consistently. Person A has to log in every day, decide how much to transfer, choose which stocks that they want to invest in, confirm the trade, and then resist the temptations to maybe do it later. And person B sets up a recurring transfer once with a broad ETF, and it quietly runs in the background every 2 weeks. And fast forward a year, who do you think ends up with more money invested? And who do you think feels less stressed about doing it right? Because this is what happened to my client Isabella. She's been working over the last 10 years, but has only managed to invest around $1,000 into a Roth IRA. Not because she didn't care, but because the process felt like a chore and she always meant to get around it, but just never did. So together we set up a simple system, a bi-weekly automatic transfer of $200 where she invests into an ETF that fit her goal. And here's what happened. In just 3 months, she's contributed more than she had in the last 10 years without having to lift a finger. That's the power of removing friction. So if you're serious about building wealth, here's how to design your environment for automatic success. Make it so that good habits require less than 3 minutes to do, and even better, automate it so that you only need to double check that it was done. So you could automate your bills by putting a recurring payment like your rent, utilities, and credit cards on autopay. And in that way, you'll never miss a due date and avoid late fees or forgotten payments. You could also auto transfer your savings and retirement and set it up so that your money moves the moment your paycheck hits before you even see it. You could also leverage your employer benefits. So if your 401k allows it, set your contributions to increase automatically by 1% each year. This lets your savings grow quietly as your income rises without feeling like a sacrifice. You could also streamline logins for your banks and investment accounts to quickly check your statements and balances. And this makes it light and easy for you to check your notifications. But don't confuse automation with neglect. Just because you automated your savings and investments doesn't mean you shouldn't check it every so often. Periodically review your systems keeps you in control while still saving time and energy. And this is what most people get wrong. They think success is about grinding harder, but real success is often just about adding friction to the bad habits while removing frictions from the good habits. And when you combine these 2 levers of adding friction to the bad and removing from the good, you don't just change your habits, you transform your trajectory. So now that you know friction is the hidden force quietly shaping your financial future, but what happens once those systems kick in? And what happens when you actually build momentum? So watch this video next where I'll show you exactly why your first $10,000 isn't just about money in your bank, but it's a psychological turning point where you change how you see your money forever.